I have a lot of empathy for clients, people, governments trying to find what I describe as the silver bullet to solve the climate change challenge when it comes to construction. The reality is that there is no one single solution that will address every single aspect of climate smart construction. And I think that's an important piece. Buildings are highly complex structures. They have to repel water from the outside, they have to let light in, they have to mediate temperatures so that it's livable. They have to ensure that there's limited moisture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So every single architectural project or product will have a range of different components in it, right down to the door handles. So there are a whole range of materials and assets inside a building, from the furniture, the fittings, the equipment, etc. However, when we think about climate change mitigation, we want to ensure that carbon doesn't go into the atmosphere. So we need to think of what are called, how do we think of buildings as carbon stores, or materials which are carboniferous? In other words, they absorb carbon. There's been lots of research on various different paints using calcium components and other sorts of molecules that are actually attracting carbon. But we do know that if you use wood, and there are many parts of the world, if you go to Asia, Japan, or parts of Europe, where some wooden structures have been standing for hundreds of years, that is effectively locking the carbon in place. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make buildings that are more resilient, and we don't demolish and recycle buildings every 2 to 3 years, depending on the whim of a particular client. Buildings really should not be seen as disposable commodities, but they should be seen as assets which stand in the landscape for a minimum of 20, 30, or 40 years. So that's one of the important principles, which is the life cycle of a building. And ideally, these buildings should be up even for 100 years. Now, aside from that sort of ethos of, demolish and rebuild versus actually let's add, refurbish, and ensure that the carbon doesn't get lost into the atmosphere, nature-based solutions and bio-based construction is very much my particular trajectory at this moment. I've designed with concrete. I've designed with steel on a number of buildings. I've won awards for it. Very proud of that portfolio of work. But I was not cognizant of my impact on the climate conditions and through these material choices. So what we need to do now is to start thinking of materials which are actually good for it. So bamboo, for example, is a fast-growing wood, which means it actually absorbs, or actually grass, it actually absorbs the carbon fairly quickly. It can be used for flooring. It can be used for various different materials. Yes, there are lots of debates about the glues. Are they safe? There's lots of innovation happening right now. And there's, as I've mentioned, some of these products are still not yet up to the minimum standard of what we would deem to be climate smart materials. But certainly, if I choice between that versus a linoleum floor made from PVC materials, I would definitely opt for the nature-based option. If I think of the structural components of a building, where historically one would use steel for, let's say, pillars or columns, if I can replace it with wood, I would do it absolutely. So I think it's about making a number of thoughtful decisions around how we construct our buildings and our cities, and looking at these as a critical aspect for combating climate change. So I'm an advocate of timber, and I'm an advocate of timber being used in various guises, whether it's structural components, whether it's flooring, whether it's boarding, whether it's in the furniture, making composites with it and adding it to make other sort of stronger materials. There's an amazing amount of material innovation of the last 20 to 30 years that we can draw upon. And as we speak, many scientists and actors are working in the space to make these solutions possible for and affordable for us. So yes, my short answer to that question is that bio-based construction is a fundamental. It's the wood chips that fall from when you cut down a tree. They don't have to be left onto the ground to decompose. Yes, you can do that, but you can cut and it but you can also take those fibers and weave them into even clothing. There's lots of innovation right now where fashion items are being made from wood. Um, of course, we know paper, matchsticks, and other sorts of other products. But I'm really intrigued and excited by how the humble tree and its various different species, of which there are thousands, can be deployed in various ways to supply all of our needs. For example, even plastic containers, which you might associate for drinks and so on. There are ways in which you can take the lignin, which is part of the wood fiber component, and you can actually make plastic substitutes. So the wood fiber is incredibly versatile as a material. It's not just structural, it can be malleable, and it can offer us a whole range of solutions. In fact, evidence has been shown that there's not a single product, to my knowledge, that that is made out of plastic that cannot be made through using wood or wood fibers. Essentially, we can replace all of those products with solutions from the natural world.